this program off thanking all of our veterans, including the man to my left right here, Mr. Danny Meringue.
Well, thank you.
You served in the Air Force for us. I thank you. I thank every man and woman and now robot that serves our country here and abroad.
We thank our UAVs.
That, the people that have and are currently serving. And of course, you know, those that gave the ultimate sacrifice that we remember today and on Memorial Day.
Absolutely. And it's, you know, it's one of those things where it's if you think about it, most people don't know somebody in the military. It's a foreign concept. It's less than 1% of the entire population that served. Did you know that?
Yeah, I know that, but I feel like we all know somebody that has served, though. You know?
Very rarely. I was talking to Will about this actually yesterday. Will, you know one guy?
Yeah, my best friend, and my grandpa. But yeah, that's it.
But I mean, like, it's...
See, I think we're going to lose that as we start losing the
last generation.
The drafted veterans. From
and that's the big part of it.
World War II is almost all dead now.
Yeah, I mean, if you know a World War II vet, I mean...
Korea,
hold on
and
to
then
that person.
Vietnam. Yeah.
It's very, very, very different because not only there's no draft, but just our numbers are down.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not using this like some kind of recruiting profile. It's just our military is smaller, particularly as a percentage. So, and if you go to certain states, like most of the military, I think Oregon still has the smallest military representation. We don't have a single active duty base. Not one.
Really?
They're all Guard and Reserve. So you've got Pang.
Even down there in Klamath? What do they got down there in Klamath?
Air National Guard.
Air National Guard?
Air National Guard at Pang, which is Portland. Army in Salem, and National Guard in Klamath Falls, and you have the Umatilla Chemical Depot.
Yeah. Those aren't active.
I mean, they're not active.
We use the reserves to get rid of all of the nukes.
Uh-huh.
That doesn't seem safe.
So
we should change that. Maybe so.
But yeah, it's just like it's just not something that I think that's front of mind, particularly post Iraq, Afghanistan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I mean, I'm part of that group. I'm like I mentioned that I enlisted on 9/12.
Yeah.
So, it's different in that sense. And I never thought I was going to be in the military. Are you kidding me?
You don't fit the profile.
No, I mean, I was going to go to business school. Then 9/11 happened. I enlisted the next day. So
perfect.
It's one of those things. It's super, super weird. But
well, thank you, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate every man and woman that has served for our country and is currently serving. Thank y'all, because you guys do all the stuff that I couldn't imagine doing. To be quite honest, like,
it's a different world, man.
It really is. It's a different mindset. It's a different mentality, and I respect the hell out of you. All of you.
It doesn't make anybody better or any worse. It just makes you a little more insane.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it makes you all better.
I don't know about that.
I do.
Trust me. We're not sending our best and brightest over.
Well, no.
It's not. It's okay.
No.
Like we're
I think people that are inherently unselfish human beings, I think they're better than most. And I think that's what you have to be to serve in the military, is because you have to be unselfish to serve for your country and put your own health and well-being.
To an extent, for sure. Yeah. But also with the Marines, you ask them what their favorite color is, and you're asking what favorite crayon do they like to eat.
Well, be
good
nice to the
Lord.
Marines.
On Veterans Day.
Grandpa Gary Ortner is a Marine. You be nice now.
Okay, and ask him his favorite color.
Well,
he'll have one that he likes to chew on.
Probably red, white, and blue.
Woo!
The colors of victory, sir.
Yeah.
But no, in all seriousness, it's cool. But just to kind of put a little bow on Veterans Day and how dumb the government is with things. If you're, bank holidays, folks, you have today off, which is great, awesome. My wife has the day off because she works for the state. She needed to go get a registration done for her car, and she wasn't thinking about it, and she went to the website, and it allowed her to book an appointment for today.
Oh.
So she was like, they must be open. She got to the DMV, and it's closed.
It's not.
So I was like, no, that's good for giving me crap about not having today off.
Hey, that's quite the okie doke by the state there. It's like website open. It's like so many availabilities. The wait time is how long? 0?
I can walk right in.
Gosh.
Excellent.
Wrong. You walk right into a locked door.
Yeah. So
wow.
there you go.
All right. Well, hey, good on you, all the vets out there, and everybody that gets a day off today. I hope we take a moment to recognize what today is, because I think that's the very most important part about these holidays. Is, kids get a day off school, people get a day off work, but I like to always take a minute to thank all of the vets that are out there and that are in my life. So, thank you.
I appreciate it.
Peoples. There's a lot of you. There's a lot of you veterans that are in my circle, in my area. And I think you guys are all completely crazy.
No, we're all insane.
Yeah.
No, it's certifiable.
Yeah. Talking about you. Talking about my booth buddy Steve that I coach with.
We're not stable. 100%. We are not stable.
But I love you guys.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Well, I'm not either.
Yeah.
The guy who's not is the man who is filling in for Jeff Rust.
I'm stable.
Will
what are you
Ortner.
talking about?
I don't. No, I'm not
yes,
gonna do
I
it.
am.
I'm still working on selling this fight between you and Sook.
Hey,
Oh.
dude,
Yeah, we're gonna do it.
whatever talent fees people want to pay
Dude,
me.
we'll put you in a singlet. We'll NASCAR that singlet. We'll have like
Right.
Jiffy Lube as like the tramp stamp right on the backside.
I'm all for it.
Yeah.
If you give me
yeah.
enough money, I'll even get a tattoo.
All right. Okay. Of
Will Ortner, brought to you by
Big Will
insert
Bets.
company here.
BigWillBets.com. We do have a poll up because you blew our minds at the beginning of the show yesterday. And I had to tweet this out because I wanted to know, because you came in, you were just talking about it again like it's a normal thing to tell people.
Yes, it is very normal to say, "Oh, how was your weekend?" I got pretty banged up on Friday night.
Yeah.
Had a rough morning on Saturday.
Yeah. So the poll at Dusty_Hera is, I got banged up on Saturday. This means there are 4 choices: hurt, drunk, car accident, or other, which you can comment below.
I did get called an idiot by one of my friends.
Only one.
Only one.
You don't have good enough friends.
Well, no. I mean, first of all, most of my friends know that is the right way to say, like, hey, I got drunk over the weekend. I got banged up.
Yeah.
She just doesn't talk that way, I guess. I guess it's different in Corbin.
I've heard
In
banged
Corbin?
up before, but it's always been in reference to somebody from a place that didn't have solid floors.
No, my floors are hardwood. I
No,
grew
no,
up in
no,
hardwood
no. I'm
floors.
talking like dirt floors, no indoor plumbing. Kind of like
I
that's
got banged up
yeah,
like that.
yeah, 100%.
When they're drinking?
Yeah.
So then you have heard of it.
No, I did.
So, okay, so
Yeah.
then Will's right.
I've heard of it, but they're from tree people.
It's, hey, you know what? It sounds to me like you've heard of it. It sounds to me like Will is right. It's a common slang term.
Oh, I wouldn't go with common.
It's common in certain parts.
Certain parts of the country that have not caught up to the 21st century. Sure.
Hey, man, that's okay. You can keep pumping my tires as long as I'm right.
I'm sitting this one out.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there. I'm just letting you guys go on that one.
This is a guy that, okay, the one specific person I'm referencing, he was in basic training with me. He sat there at the light switch
So
the
he's a
first
veteran.
day and turned it on and off probably 20 times because he was like, this is so cool. So that's the kind of, the
I'm
world
a
that
man
you're
of the
in.
people. What can you say about me? Will Ortner is a man of the people.
There is there's this idea, and it's wild when you think about it, though, that it's 2023, and and it's not a lot of people, but there are people that still live in the United States of America that do have dirt floors, no indoor plumbing.
Yeah.
Electricity is
You
hit
can-
and miss, spotty.
Yeah, you
at
can draw a
best.
circle in the Tennessee Valley.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's there. And then like,
Oh,
there's
we got some here. If you go to like southeastern Oregon,
yeah,
man.
if you go, say you can go to like
There's some
southern
places.
Utah too.
Yeah, if you go way eastern Oregon, you'll find, and it's not like everybody out there. It's
No.
just it's
But if you go to try to find
Pockets.
them, you'll also hear if you get too close.
yeah,
So
yeah.
leave them alone.
I remember I was at a bar in LeGrand, Oregon when I was in college, and a guy came up to me, and he was obviously a rancher of some sort, and he
How'd you
literally gave me the "You ain't from around here, are you?" And I was like, I'm wearing like an SOU sweatshirt. I'm like, what gave you that indicator? And he's like, you got that stuff in your hair? And I was like, oh,
Water?
that's what it is.
Water?
That's what it is. Yeah, it was like,
You have hair gel.
I was
so-
like, that was the big giveaway, huh? And he's like, we don't like people like your kind from on this side. He
Oh.
said on this side of the hill. And I was like, okay. And I was just
The
like,
hills
looking
have
around-
eyes, literally.
I'm looking around just like, I don't know what to say to you right now, sir, because I'm in a college bar because we're in LeGrand, and I was with basically the Eastern Oregon baseball team, were the guys that I was with, and they came up and like they kind of shooed him away because strength in numbers.
Mhm.
Always remember that when you're at a bar.
Always.
And about 5 minutes later, the guy was like outside and he was yelling like through the window, like, "Hey, I'll be waiting for you." And about 2 minutes after that, somebody else was beating him up in the street.
Ah.
It was like,
So he had a
He
list.
took-
He had a list going.
he just was looking for a fight,
Hmm.
but he gave me the "you ain't from around here," and like his buddy's like, he doesn't get to town much. I'm like, this is town.
Oh,
Yeah, okay, there we go.
gotcha.
And hey, you know what?
That makes sense.
I, for one, I just had a grand old time that night. Way better time than that guy who ended up getting thrown in the back of a police cruiser. So
Well, it sounds like he wasn't a very good welcoming committee.
he was not. He was not.
Welcome to LeGrand.
He
Here's
was not.
Steve.
Here's Steve. I don't think that's what his name was. I don't know what his name was.
Jim Bob.
Yep. But I'll never. There is more to what he said, and it may be one of the most memorable insults that I've ever had thrown my way. And he did not appreciate it when I started laughing when he said it to me.
Mm.
But it was hilarious, and I can't say
No.
any
Any of
of it. I cannot say any of it on the air.
Perfect.
But it was A plus. I've never been insulted better in my life, and I could not do anything but
Just
laugh.
break you down.
Oh, it was so good.
Mm.
He nailed it. He really nailed it.
He
All right.
undressed you?
Huh?
He undressed you?
Not physically,
Mm.
but
Well, yeah, verbally.
verbally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it's,
With
it's
his eyes.
again, it's
Yeah.
slang term.
You could
It's when
say
you roast someone.
I got banged up by his verbal barbs. I got banged up by his verbal barbs.
I don't know if I'm gonna make it through today
All right, what do you mean?
with this guy.
With him
What
over
are
there?
you
This
talking
guy.
about, man?
All right, so go vote on the poll. I got banged up on Saturday. That's a quote from Will Ortner. This means hurt, drunk, car accident, or other.
Don't look at the replies. Whatever you do, don't look at the replies.
Can't read most of them.
Don't look at the replies.
Yep.
You've been warned.
Mm-hmm. That's of course I'm going to do it. All right, we got a big Football Friday edition for you. We got a little Blazers that we need to get to as well, because there's a big injury, as you heard in Will's update. Time Lord Robert Williams, he is done for the year with a knee injury. We'll unpack that, but which upset would you be most surprised at this weekend in college football? 503-864-6326. That's a Vancouver Forward text line. You can fill them up in the comments section too. YouTube.com/1080am The Fan. This is Danny and Dusty.
Hello, sports fans, and welcome to
Prime Time with Isaac and Sue.
Oregon man is one of 4 people facing charges in connection to buying and selling over $1 million worth of dinosaur bones.
Oh,
Yeah, this is
is that
a.
illegal to sell dinosaur bones?
Yeah, you can't do that, bro.
No?
Well, I'm guessing they were stolen from somewhere because no one
Yeah.
really happens upon dinosaur bones. Do they?
Speak for
Anymore?
yourself.
Oh, you have?
I don't know. But if I find like a brontosaurus femur, I can't sell that?
The home of Prime Time with Isaac and Sue. Weekdays 3 to 7. 1080 The Fan.
Now, here's a quick look at
We got a great slate of college foosball this weekend.
This might be the best overall week of the season.
I'm pumped up for it because you've got some really good games. Now, point spreads may be big, but I think these games will be tighter than they indicate. And we'll dive into each of these games individually a little bit as the show goes on today. But we have a poll up right meow at Danny and Dusty on Twitter. Which would be the most surprising upset? USC over Oregon, Penn State over Michigan, Utah over Washington, Ole Miss over Georgia. Now, if you look at point spreads alone, I think if you go from most to least surprising, the most surprising would be USC over Oregon because that's a 15-point line. You have number 9 Ole Miss going to number 2 Georgia. That's a 10.5-point line. Then you have Washington as 9-point favorites over 8th-ranked Utah tomorrow at 12:30 on Fox in Seattle. But a 4-point line between the 10th-ranked Nittany Lions of Penn State and number 3 Michigan right there would probably be the least surprising in Vegas's eyes. But I think the magnitude of all of these games and where all of the programs that are favored are at, I think it'd be shocking if any of the favorites lost in this.
I do too, and that Michigan Penn State line it feels like it's something scary about that because it feels like it's free money. Because I think Michigan's going to go in there and beat the living crap out of Penn State. Penn State's
run the damn ball down
Penn State's
their throat.
A good team.
Yeah,
Michigan is the better version of them at everything they do.
They're look. Penn State is very athletic.
And they're very good in the trenches.
And their defense is dynamite, but they have a freshman playing quarterback, and it shows. I mean, Drew Aller, I don't roast or criticize too harshly what a freshman is doing on the football field because that is you're playing against grown ass men. You know, even if you're a redshirt freshman, you are playing against guys that are getting NFL ready, and there's a lot of them on that Michigan side. And it takes so much, and we're seeing this, you know, Bo Nix is a great example of it. There are certain guys that just have it, and they're able to do it. Caleb Williams, from the get-go in their careers. Most people that are even really good in college, there is a learning curve, and there's a growth that needs to happen.
I mean, look at Bo Nix's freshman year.
Bo Nix is the greatest example of this.
I mean, he looked like he wasn't a guy who could play.
Yeah, he looked like you were like, oh, he's got some there.
But as far as like the production, there was so much
he's
hit
young.
or miss. Yeah, that's the thing.
All these guys are so young,
and
man.
wasn't he at one point in time? Wasn't he the youngest starting quarterback ever?
No, I had no idea about
in the
that.
SEC.
Maybe I wouldn't doubt it
because I remember him being incredibly young coming out. Like he turned 18 in the summer or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know, but Drew Aller is going to have a come to Jesus moment when he plays this Michigan Wolverines team. But here's the deal with it though. It is at Beaver Stadium. You are at Penn State. It will be a raucous environment. Home field, you may only get 3 points in Vegas. It's worth a whole hell of a lot more when you have a game of this magnitude. I mean, like Oregon fans that were in Seattle for the Washington game, you felt it, right? And I saw that, I think Josh Pate, Late Kick Josh, who goes on Dirt and Sprague sometimes, he had a tweet out the other day, I think it was from him, about FanDuel has a prop up, Oregon-Washington, neutral field. Oregon's 6.5-point favorites.
8.5.
8.5?
Really?
I thought I saw 8.5. It is Late Kick Josh. He has like some algorithm.
No, it's an actual line from, he may have like whatever algorithm.
He has an algorithm. He has the Ducks as the number 2 team in the country right now.
Yeah, but they have he has a little video up about it that he put up on his Twitter feed about how FanDuel put out an actual line, and it's Oregon 6.5 on a neutral field. Home field means a ton. I mean, that was a 3-point game in Seattle. And look, that's not to say that like Washington still won that football game. And I don't want to hear anything otherwise. There's a lot of pearl clutching from Husky fans like, oh, how dare anybody say that, Oregon is a better team, Washington beat them. Okay, yeah, I understand. They did beat them. They did, and they should get credit, and they are getting credit for that in the college football rankings. But there's also an Oregon fan that's like, oh, we're so much better. No, you lost the game.
No, you literally played the game.
You lost the game.
Yeah, you
Right.
played the game and lost.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you get another
You get
rematch.
another
It's in
chance
Las Vegas, right?
on a neutral field to show it.
But Penn State is going to have a massive home field advantage because when you put not just home field advantage, but then you put that fever pitch that a rivalry game or
And
a big game,
100,000 people.
just like it engulfs a stadium and everybody, there's just tightness and this energy in a stadium, and it's so awesome. It's the best thing about college football. I love it. It's why you love college football, is because of those moments in those games.
Beaver Stadium's 106,572.
Incredible.
That's
Incredible.
That's insane.
But he'll have 106,000 on his side in that game, and that means a lot.
Are they doing
That
a
means
whiteout
lot.
for this game?
No, because it's a day game. I think they only do the whiteouts for night
Yeah.
games, and they only do one a year, and I think they had it earlier in the year. But
They should
I
have made this a night game.
I think
100%.
that one way that you take a crowd out of a game, and we saw Oregon do it for a little bit, the time that they did quiet it down, one is turnovers.
Mhm.
In Penn State, I think they lead the country maybe in turnover margin. Like, they were really stinking
I mean,
good.
they've got dudes on the defensive side of the ball, particularly in the front seven.
But by turning the ball over, but running the football. And that's what Michigan can do better than anybody in the country. Like, that is Jim Harbaugh's identity. It's what he's always been about. It's what he loves.
And we have not talked about Blake Corum much this year, and he's still that dude.
Yes. Well, and J.J. McCarthy, too.
Yeah.
Their quarterback is really stinking good. And all of this just feels like if the battle of wills, and it's going to be Michigan just trying to lean on Penn State as long as they can. And this is where depth matters. Depth matters so much in these games, in this time of year and in November. And I think that's going to be a big point about, when we talk about Oregon State and Stanford a little bit later in the show, is that that ability to lean on a team at this point in the year. That's where the rubber meets the road and you separate. But we have that pull up at Danny and Dusty, which would be the most surprising upset, because Oregon is a 15-point favorite over USC. If USC won outright, that'd be pretty stunning, especially with everything that's been going on with that program
Oh,
lately.
God. Yeah.
Penn State over Michigan, we just talked about that. Utah over Washington. I think it'd just be stunning based on Utah would have to go up to Washington and their inability to throw the football.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they ran for they had 500 yards of total offense last week.
Mm-hmm.
Utah did.
Yeah.
I think like 100 and something were passing.
Passing
It was
yards.
like
They just ran all over
350.
Arizona State. Yeah.
350 yards rushing. And that game was so bananas.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first time ever in the Pac-12, and I think maybe even like the conference's history, that a team has had 500 yards of total offense and held the opponent to under 100 yards of total offense.
First and last time.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Probably.
Maybe.
Very likely.
I don't know. Hey,
Probably.
weird things come in threes.
Get weird.
But I would be surprised if Utah were able to do that.
The
Go up there,
one
pull
of
that
that
off.
one is Styles making fights.
Yep. Yeah.
That's what that one is.
Can't play from behind either.
Yeah. They get out and, get a turnover on Penix, flip the field, something along those lines early, and maybe making Washington chase is not exactly where the position you want to be in, because
No.
now they're throwing the ball endlessly, which you're going to break. It's just, can you break less often?
Also, I
Bingo.
think with that too, that's important, is that UW defense is better than people give it credit for. Now, as a whole, it might not be amazing,
Yeah.
but I like Muhammad out at corner. I think he's shut down, so you already don't have a good wide receiver at Utah. So
Ooh, you and
they're
I
gonna-
kind of differ on that.
I
I like-
thought
I
he
like
did
him.
really well against Troy Franklin, and I thought at the very least he made his day very, very difficult,
Absolutely.
and he won all of your big fourth down calls. They all went to Troy Franklin, and Muhammad won all of those. But I also like both
Last
of
one
the
was to
DNs.
Tez, and I don't agree with the last one though.
I like both the ends. I like Trice.
No, they're
and
really
I
good.
like Filutu or
ZTF.
thank you, ZTF. Those two guys are absolute dogs,
They are.
and they can get after the quarterback. When they were both in against Oregon, they actually got to Bo Nix a little bit, and you never see that.
And then you have the final one is Ole Miss over Georgia, and like that one, boy, just Georgia losing a football game, that'd be surprising, wouldn't it? we have not seen Georgia lose since the 2021 football season.
Yeah, I think that's the sneaky.
2021.
I think that's the sneakiest one in here, because Georgia does not have the same pomp and circumstances as it's had recently.
Yeah.
Both because of the level of which they're beating the crap out of people is not as obscene as it has been the last 2 years.
Yeah.
But also there's the more parity across college football. But
Yeah.
also, Ole Miss is good.
Yeah, Ole Miss
Like,
is good.
They're legitimately good, and
Yeah.
this is going to be the bar to see if did we all just not realize that Georgia was in fact that good.
You know, the thing about like Lane Kiffin in Ole Miss is that it appears like when you watch Ole Miss play this year, there's a different rhythm to them where it was always like with Lane Kiffin, it was I'm going to score 50 on you. And
That's been his MO everywhere.
Yeah, and I will just if we can't do it, we're not winning. That's not Ole Miss right now.
No, they're playing complementary football.
Yeah, they actually have a more complete team. But if you haven't seen Carson Beck recently, like if you just saw him like maybe early in the year and then you haven't paid attention to Georgia because they really haven't played very many good teams, Carson Beck is a different quarterback.
He's
and like
figuring
this
it out,
is something that we don't do and we need to do is give guys credit for getting better over the course of a year.
For getting better because early in the season you're like, ooh,
Yeah.
Georgia's a quarterback problem.
And I think like there's something to it with JJ McCarthy too at Michigan, like because Michigan's schedule has been so bad, and like they haven't been like must see TV,
and
like
they won a ton of Heisman, hype in Michigan. It's like you haven't played anybody.
Yeah, but they're gonna and it starts
over the
right now.
next 3 weeks they will, and then you're getting it.
But like if you JJ McCarthy a year ago is not the same JJ McCarthy now, and I think that all of those things like. These are all playing a factor into
There's discussions
why
about
we're sleeping.
Him or Cade McNamara still.
Yeah,
There's like,
McNamara.
I don't know. And then they make the decision to stick with JJ down the stretch of the season last year, and all of a sudden, Cade's
now Cade
playing in
went to
Iowa.
Iowa and
scoring 12 points a game.
Well, he hurt his knee. That was a big blow to that. Iowa, by the way, 1-point favorites. 28.5 is the over under.
Back up 28.5,
Ooh,
not
I was gonna say,
28
Hey,
flat.
congrats on the cover
28.
last night.
You like that?
Yeah,
You like that?
The easiest pick of the week right there. Under on Thursday night.
Took
Football.
that under 38.
That game was disgusting.
29 total
I didn't even
points.
watch it. I turned on a movie.
It was a field goal festival.
All I did was track it on my phone.
It did hurt my feelings a little bit that they were like, here are Tyson Bagent's last 10 games,
Yeah.
and they were just crapping on the D2 schools. It's like, hold on. Colorado School of Mines is like really good.
Mines.
Pittsburgh State,
Not
really
mines.
good.
Pittsburgh State, the Gorillas,
Yeah.
they are really good.
Yeah.
Why aren't-
First
why
of all,
don't people talk about Grand Valley State being a national powerhouse more?
Colorado
Also,
School of
that's
Mines
real.
is
But also-
ranked number 1 in the country right now.
Make
okay?
sure you emphasize the mine.
Mine.
Mine,
Not,
yeah.
not
oh, it's not
mimes.
Mines? Oh,
No.
I always give them an S. They
No.
win a lot, so they get the S. Hey,
Yeah.
but you know who's 22nd?
Yeah. Central Washington.
My Central Washington
Let's
Wildcats, baby.
go, Coach Fisk.
That's
Let's
right.
go.
Defensive coordinator Grant Torgeson, former 1080 The Fan intern.
That's right.
There you go.
Torgy was an intern, and he's an SOU Raider.
There you go.
So we got
That part
connections.
sounds
Just dirt bag all around.
Easy.
Fight that.
I love
Fight
Coach
that.
T.
Like what you know about him, I'm not going to dispute. But if you ever met him, he is the furthest thing from it. But from what you said and from what you have heard about him, I don't blame any of your snap judgments on
But
him.
also,
How about if I sweeten the
SOU
pot by saying
and
he went?
1080.
How about if I sweeten the pot by saying he went to Oregon City High School?
There you go. That's a trifecta.
He's a
Oregon
long
City,
snapper.
SOU, 1080. Oh, that's a dirtbag triangle.
Now Central Washington.
He's also a long snapper. Don't forget that.
But Torgy is anything but the dirtbag that you are accusing him of being.
Love Coach T.
Dirtbag adjacent, certainly.
Yeah.
No. He's a good guy.
No, he's
You
a great
can be
guy.
you can be a great guy and a dirtbag.
No, he's not. Like he's really not. Like he's actually a good person, and it's like I probably sully the name.
Coach T is a great guy, man.
Ortner and I are like sullying the reputation of this guy who's actually a stand-up individual.
He's like one of the best dudes you'll ever meet.
Ever.
Super nice, really enthusiastic.
But everything that you know of him, I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
You know a guy who went to Southern, you know a guy who went to Central, and he went
Yeah.
to both, and now you're like,
Yeah.
all right.
And he worked here?
Yeah.
You worked here?
A lot of stink on him. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't blame you for that. I don't blame you for that. All right. So go and vote on the poll. 503-864-6326 is the Vancouver Ford text line. We'll get to some of your feedback as well. We got a big injury in the Blazer world, though, that we do need to discuss.
Indeed.
What is going on with Robert Williams, the Portland Trail Blazers, and where do they go from here? Right now is Will with SportsCenter. By the way, Pete Thamel, how tall do you think Pete Thamel is?
Is he a little man or is he a big man?
Short king.
Yeah, he's not tall.
Because he looks like he's a Timmy Kirkchin.
He's not. Well, he's taller than Tim Kirkchin. Yeah.
That's not.
Yeah.
So
He's not a Jeff Passan or Kirkchin.
they got.
But I thought he was going to be tall. I
Yeah.
was thinking like 6'2".
Yeah.
He's not. No.
No.
Mm-mm. All right. Anyways, he's saying Big Ten is expected to discipline Michigan for the in-person scouting and ongoing sign stealing investigation and will prohibit Jim Harbaugh from being on the sidelines until the conclusion of the regular season. He will be allowed to coach during the week. So they're going to do exactly what happened to Jim Harbaugh the first 3 weeks of the season.
They effectively just suspended him for a month.
Yeah. But the biggest part of their season.
Yeah.
And I think this is where you look at it and you go, all right, they're finally, after Michigan had the sham suspension of Jim Harbaugh of we're going to suspend him for the first 3 games of the season. And the first 3 games of the season were East Carolina, UNLV, and Bowling Green. After that, now you're finally hitting them where it hurts because they go to Penn State this weekend. And is that going to be effective like today? So are they going to send him home? Because I guarantee Michigan's already wheels up on their way to State College and going to Penn State.
Yeah.
I mean, they're on their way there. So
They didn't leave yesterday.
are you going to? Nah, they wouldn't leave on a Thursday because it's so close. It's so close.
That's true. I guess. Yeah.
The West Coast schools be ready for leaving Thursday when
Yeah.
they go to Big Ten games. But here is the 3 games that he'll be suspended for. Number 10, Penn State. He will be suspended for a matchup against a Maryland team that is 5-4 on the season. Now they've lost 4 games in a row, but they have a winning record as of now. And then number 1, Ohio State. The big game. And if you want to talk about a guy who may go full Bobby Valentine,
It's funny. I literally had the same thing in my head.
he's going to wear a fake mustache. And
Who was it? Was it
Connor Stallions. He'll dress like Connor Stallions.
was it Petrino? That called in from the box.
Hugh
in the
Freeze
hospital?
was
Hugh
getting
Freeze
like
when he had his
root
back
canal.
surgery.
Yeah.
No, he
Yeah.
had back
Yeah.
surgery.
I always
Oh.
get Freeze and Petrino mixed
Yeah,
up.
when
Same dirtbag.
when Liberty
Yeah.
played,
Like 10A the fan interns.
yeah. He coached the game against Syracuse from the hospital bed.
Yeah.
And then Dino Babers was like after the game, like looking to handshake somebody and nobody was there. So he like turned around, did like an air fist
bump.
to him. The weirdest thing ever.
I mean, I could see Harbaugh doing that. He's gonna have a live feed at his house.
Yikes. So that's where we're at with the Jim Harbaugh situation. He's not gonna do it.
Oh, he's gonna be there somehow, some way, whether he's tapped into a headset or not.
Boy. I mean, if you really are living that YOLO, F it, I'm going to the NFL life.
Yeah,
What do you?
but I
what
mean,
are you
they
waiting
are getting him a new contract. I don't think he's leaving for the NFL, but maybe this does force him to the NFL. Maybe not this suspension in particular, but maybe there's more. Maybe the Big Ten is gonna not be toothless here,
Maybe.
or they're just gonna say that we did enough here and that'll be the end of it. I'm leaning towards that.
Yeah, maybe they're gonna do it for the games that like they're like, all right, this will shut Ryan Day up.
He wasn't even on the sideline, Ryan.
No,
After Michigan beats Ohio State. Then what's he going to complain about? I don't like Ryan Day.
why not? I do. I don't think he's wrong in any of this. And
just
the
weaselly.
NCAA came out and said that all of that Ryan Day's brother being the investigator stuff was not factual.
But not just that. Like, there's just something.
But I don't trust the NCAA either, so take that for what
There's
it
just
is.
something about him I don't like.
You're a fan of Crying Ryan? You can't be a fan of someone whose nickname is literally Crying Ryan.
When did he cry?
I think he cried when Lou Holtz said his team sucked.
No, he
was
just
born
got
on third
upset. He
base.
got really upset.
He got really
about that.
whiny.
Yeah, he did get really whiny.
And it was
about
like,
that.
come
And
on,
He
man.
didn't even know it was a bit. Like it was a spoof.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
That's
I
the thing,
get
is
it.
like-
Ryan.
He's
It's
trying to
just-
find that edge,
Look,
man.
and I'm not saying I like
Trying to find that
Harbaugh.
edge.
I'm just saying, like, there's something about him I don't like. I like Marcus Freeman more, and that's Notre Dame. That's like
Yeah.
that's a rival.
Yeah. But you're a big Lincoln Riley guy.
Sure.
The mental gymnastics that fans will do to justify their guy
but
over somebody
what
else.
have I also told you? He's kind of wearing on me.
He's
with the not showing up to stuff and not doing the things he's supposed to do. Look, even that wears on me.
I love this text. Michigan's punishment should be Connor Stallions has to be the head coach the rest of the year.
Oh God,
see how they do, and he has to do it with his 600-page manifesto in his hands as he's coaching.
Oh God,
if they did that, I'm in. I think that's a fitting punishment.
that's fantastic.
You make Connor Stallions the head coach of Michigan for the final 3 games of the year.
My God, that's magical.
If they go 3-0, who hires him? Someone would hire him
I don't
Ohio
know.
State.
to be their head coach. Bye-bye, crying Ryan.
Northwestern.
Oh yeah, that fits. That fits 100%.
No,
journalists
it's
would
got
love
to be the
that.
Naval Academy. He went there. You know, espionage is kind of in their DNA.
Yeah, it's not
You
a
know?
bad. That's not a bad deal.
So
And they do love manifestos.
there you go. All right, 503-864-6326. Vancouver Ford text on. Get some of your feedback next. Danny and Dusty on the Fan.
Seahawks football is on the Fan.
6 DBs in the game. Play fake. Dobbs being chased by Witherspoon, who gets there and throws him down all the way back at the 15-yard line.
Join us all season long for Seahawks football. Brought to you by A&E Plumbing, Heating, and Air, your local independent train dealer. It's hard to stop a train. Online at aneheatingandcooling.com. The Seahawks play here. 1080.
Touchdown, Seahawks!
The Fan.
At Spirit Mountain Casino, exhilaration finds you at every turn, and big-time winning reaches all new heights. Excitement brings the heat. Comfort sweeps you off your feet. The action, you guessed it, can't be beat. It's Oregon's premier destination, made for players who love the game, made for players just like you. So, are you ready to elevate your game? Spirit Mountain Casino.
Papa Murphy's. Change the way you pizza.
Isn't that aroma just heavenly?
What's with the whispering?
Inside this grill is the
I did,
Yes,
and then
you
I went,
started to do it, and then you looked at the corner of my eye, I saw you, and you were like, "Uh-oh."
No, I said, "Ow, that hurt." My freaking hips from physical therapy were like, "No, don't do that."
You won't listen to Zach Bryan, but you're out here dancing to Psy.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
Boo.
yeah,
Zach Bryan's great.
yeah. The song came out like 15 years ago now.
I was
Really?
in
How much money do you think he's
middle
making
school?
still off of that?
I was in middle school. He's
Yeah.
a big deal in South Korea, I think.
Good on him, dude. Good on him. He made that. He made a hit, and people can get annoyed with
Came out in
those.
2012.
Really? So we're 11 years ago.
It's been a hot
I was in 8th grade.
Check it. Good Lord. How much is he worth, you think? I'm gonna do this.
Oh, net worth
Yeah.
in South Korea, man,
Yeah.
they take over down there when they get big. I bet you he's worth probably 20 million.
Is it more? Like, is their dollar more than our dollar?
It doesn't matter. Just guess.
5 million.
No, 60.
60?
The man is worth $60 million.
Good God. When you get a banger out there, it's
See, like you can
it's what-
hate
they,
on him.
they literally have their own pop. They have
Like that-
K-pop.
Like this is my whole thing with like we went through this with Creed and Nickelback, right? Like I'm not gonna hate the game because, dude, there's 100 million people that like crappy music that buy their albums. Like they did it. That was and that is great for them.
Would you say they do it with arms wide open?
I'd say
Yeah.
they take those bands higher
Yeah,
because they
really
want to
do.
be rock stars.
And live in hilltop mansions.
Drive 15 cars.
Yeah. So
I refuse to participate.
no, you will.
You ruined it. You ruined it.
No.
I didn't ruin it.
You
I
ruined it.
enhanced it.
Nope,
you
you
might
ruined it.
say that I took your bit higher.
No. Nope. Can't do it now. Can't come full circle.
All right. So we got some feedback on the Vancouver Ford text line about the Harbaugh deal. We got to get into the Time Lord thing when we have a little bit of chunk of time because this is significant in a few different ways, the Robert Williams injury. But we will start the 1 o'clock hour with that. A lot of vitriol coming in Ryan Day's way. One person saying he paints his beard black. Prove me wrong. I think it's going gray.
Oh, no, he definitely dyed it. He definitely. You can't get that color black without dyeing it.
You think?
Yeah.
I mean, his hair.
He
really
might
bad.
he might be letting it go now, but he at one point in time dyed it. It was like Carlos Boozer painted on hair bad.
Huh. Yeah, that's one of the hard parts I'm going through right now. I don't grow a good beard, and it's gray and.
Nah, you still got enough color in there.
Yeah, no, I got I got a lot of color, but when your beard is already patchy, to have gray hair does not help your cause.
No, because then it looks
like this is
it's
the
not- yeah.
thickest. This is the thickest my beard has ever been, and it's not. And it looks even worse because I have gray hairs in there. I'm like there are hairs growing here. You just got to take my word for it.
Yeah.
They're clear. You can't see them.
You need to get the beard oil.
Now I've heard about this.
Okay.
I just feel it's a waste of money.
Yeah, little snake oil.
Yeah. So, do we think Harbaugh, the Michigan, can make it through this stretch 3-0?
They're good enough. I mean,
they are physically superior to everybody. And
Yeah.
look, the first 3 games of the season. What is the best win on their schedule so far? They've played East Carolina, UNLV, Bowling Green, Rutgers, Nebraska, Minnesota, Indiana, Michigan State, Purdue.
probably Rutgers.
You want to go Rutgers? I mean, you could make the argument. I mean, you honestly, you can make this argument.
I'm not kidding. It's probably Rutgers.
Rutgers is 6-3.
Yeah.
Minnesota's 5-4.
Huh.
But you could make the argument
Rutgers has a good defense too.
that 7-2 UNLV is the best win that they have.
Yikes.
Yeah. 7-2 UNLV might be the best win that they got
To be-
so far.
To be
And-
fair, the only 2 opponents have scored more than no opponent has scored 14 points on them.
Isn't that crazy?
I mean, like they are beating people in a way we have not seen teams get beat in a long time.
Yeah.
Every week,
And they're
regardless of competition.
But we can also acknowledge that the Big Ten is very top heavy. It is in the middle and bottom. It's
very soft,
very weak.
Yes.
I would say the middle and bottom. The West is very
that entire
is
that entire
very
division
weak.
is very bad.
And like
Yeah.
that's the thing about it is that like this is where I would still, and this is like Oregon, Washington. At the beginning of the year, everybody's like, "Oh, Pac-12 is really good. Pac-12 is really good." Now that the natural softening of the Pac-12 is happening because they have to play each other,
Yeah.
they're not getting credit. I will take the bottom of the Pac-12, and I'll put that up against the bottom, like the bottom third against any
Oh
conference. in the
yeah,
country.
against the SEC, against Big 10, against Big 12. Yeah, absolutely. Same with the middle.
Yeah.
That middle third, like USC is a middle third team in the Pac-12.
Yeah, they're okay. They're okay. I'm kidding.
Yeah, no, I mean
Really
like
good.
that's
good.
that's where they're at right now.
All right. Hey, let's talk about this Robert Williams injury for the Portland Trailblazers. We will have a lot of football Friday that we need to get to, including this Oregon and USC game, which is coming up right here on the Fan. Tomorrow we'll dive into Stanford and Oregon State, the rest of the Pac-12, and the games of note around college and the NFL. But a big injury done for the year for the Portland Trailblazers. What does it mean long-term? Danny and Dusty on the Fan.
Hey, it's Suk. A&E Plumbing, Heating, and Air has recently added Honky and Clausen Heating
Robert Williams done for the year. This is a little bit more extensive than what we first thought. When we heard Adrian Wojnarowski say earlier this week that they were discussing the options, his agent and the medical personnel with the Portland Trail Blazers, that was a weird way to say it. It was just kind of like, huh? And very oddly put report, Woj. But
yes.
Now we're finding out it's ligament and kneecap damage. And it didn't look like it was that serious when he walked off the court.
He was clearly in real pain and knew something was wrong.
Yeah.
But it wasn't something where he couldn't walk under his own power. It was just going to suck.
Yeah.
That's the thing about knee injuries. That's usually the case unless you completely shred everything. You can still typically hobble off and kind of figure it out. But yes, the Blazers have not released anything official yet. I would imagine we're going to get that here in a little bit. I've talked back and forth. The expectation is probably something today.
Yeah.
But the ruling is he's going to be done for the season. He is not opting for the lesser cleanup surgery. And to be totally honest, I think it's the right course of action.
When he was acquired by the Blazers, this was my whole thing, is that if this is a long-term investment in Robert Williams, which is what they said when they brought him in, was like, he's not a guy that we necessarily have a plan on moving.
No.
My whole thought on it was, this could be the year he could finally get healthy.
Sure.
Because he is a guy that pushed himself back and was willing to do it for the Boston Celtics time and time again.
Because they're in the NBA Finals.
And there was something on the line. And he gutted out a lot of injuries that kept him out for longer periods of time.
He had a cleanup surgery on the other knee like a year ago.
So with this, I think that it maybe is one of the more reassuring things if you want to have Robert Williams on this roster for more than just till the trade deadline.
Sure.
That he seems like a piece that they're thinking of keeping around for the long haul.
Look, Rob is a guy who is, no matter what, is never going to be more than 20 minutes a game. It's just, whether it's here, whether it's for another team, nobody's going to play him over that unless they absolutely unless you're in the finals.
And it was silly business wanting him moved into the starting lineup.
Yeah, people who were saying that it was never going to happen. The Blazers wanted to use him as a 20 to 22 minute a night guy who, because of his injury limitations, this was always going to be an issue, and they wanted to manage him. He wasn't going to play back-to-backs.
Yeah.
But when he's on the floor, he's a defensive player of the year capable big. He's that good.
Yeah.
In the 7 games that he played, or 6 games that he played because he missed one, he looked really good on the floor. Really good. Yeah. And it's a major bummer for Portland because now that there's going to be some depth issues there, and they played the 2 big stuff with Rob and Da on the floor at the same time. I wasn't a big fan of that because this team already doesn't have shooting. I understand they were just basically trying to get better defensively.
Yeah, we got to frame this differently, man. You're talking as if this is a team that had expectations at the beginning of the year, but like when you say that they have depth issues, it's like the first thought in my head was, oh wow. What, are they not going to win 30 games now?
No, I mean, you look at their right now, they're missing half their top 10.
Yeah.
Like of their rotation, which is
wild.
I mentioned this the other day. That Ish Wainwright isn't playing, and I kind of put him in their top 10. When he's healthy, he's gonna be in their top 10.
All right, I'd like to have this talk though about there are a lot of injuries right now.
Yes,
and one thing that Portland had for a very long time was a very well-respected training staff and medical personnel. And they still do have a well-respected medical group and trainers and team doctors and stuff that overlook the team. Like half of the guys out this year, and this all goes back to it's going to be in the front of people's minds because of the Gary Payton II just trash that was brought up about them.
And that medical staff almost entirely is gone.
Exactly.
I don't think most people know that.
And it's a brand new staff that's kind of in, and half the guys are out.
It's just unfortunate.
It's and this is the thing, like it's injury luck.
Yeah, and then Portland, because of the stuff that's happened in the past, where it's cursed. Like Shaedon right now is playing with essentially the same injury as Ants, just not as severe. The same thing happened to him where he had his right thumb grabbed or hooked. Like Ant did it I think it was the end of the second quarter, going into the half. And remember that second quarter against Clippers in opening night, he went for 14 points in the quarter. Just got hot. And then he missed literally everything in the third quarter. And it was because he tried to play with it and they went and looked at it and they went, not okay.
The one thing that we always kind of look at is like it's always doom and gloom here, but like injury luck has also broken the Blazers' way when they made a Western Conference Finals.
Yes.
Like it's not.
I mean, it's
it
hitting
really
the Lakers
is.
right now. The Lakers, Anthony Davis, obviously,
Ebbs and flows.
with groin spasms, although he was upgraded to probable about an hour ago. So it looks like he'll probably be ready to go when the Blazers play the Lakers on Sunday.
Yeah.
But there's also a little bit more Blazers news in the sense that Ryan Repair and Chris Murray were optioned down to the remix. And I've seen a bunch of people like, what's happening here? Number one, the remix play in LA, their first game.
Oh.
So they don't need
Ontario or LA.
They don't need to go anywhere.
Yeah.
So for those that don't know, typically the Blazers, if they played Sacramento, if they went to Utah, they would come home in between if there was a 3-day gap. But it's LA, so go stay in the Four Seasons down in LA and get some sun and relax down there. But also that part. But also the remix is playing. So you probably got a bunch of the Blazers staff is probably down there to go watch the first remix game in history.
Yeah.
But also that means Ryan and Chris can just go down and play with them and then get optioned back to the team with a filing of paperwork. And I would expect
First game's tonight, right?
Yeah. Yeah, tonight.
Go remix.
And you can watch it. There's a live stream of it. The G League is required that all G League games are streamed, so you can.
Okay.
I retweeted the link earlier. But as far as like the depth issues and why is Chris Murray going to the G League? I would very much expect that both of them get optioned back to the Blazers after the game.
Yeah.
But they're going to do this is the whole point of having a G League team.
Is why you do it.
Is that when you have guys that need minutes, you send them down to go get minutes, then they come back.
Like this, and you know this by going to so many practices, but for so long here in Portland, when you would have to send guys to the Idaho Stampede and back and forth,
It's a pain.
It was a pain in the ass, and so you would see guys just kind of stuck here, and like it was honestly one of the saddest things when you would see a guy, the most work that he would put in over the course of a year is after practice, like during media availability, they'd be on the far court
getting in scrimmages.
And that would be like the work that they're getting in. And that's not how you grow and develop players. And that's why the G League is actually being used as a farm system and a tool.
And the remix
to
are
grow.
practicing at the Blazers PF.
Yeah.
So they don't need to go to another building.
All
So
right.
there's some stuff happening there with that. And it's going to be interesting. I think because of Rob's injury, you might see Duop Reith optioned to the team.
Oh.
So I think you might see him.
He was fun in preseason.
He hasn't been activated yet.
The 10 minutes that I watched.
Yeah, he hasn't been activated yet.
Started in
So you could see him activated. Skylar Mays is 100% going to be active because he's their only active point guard. That's the other thing is we're waiting on an update on Malcolm Brogdon's injury as well because he picked up the hammy on Wednesday.
Which is worst case scenario for those that were this is where you parlay him because he's been playing really well.
He's been very good for them. Yeah.
Near the deadline.
I've had so many people reach out to me like, I didn't know Malcolm Brogdon was this good. I'm like, yeah, that's why I was excited to get him because even if you don't think he's here for that long, you can get a pretty good return for Malcolm Brogdon.
Yeah. Yeah. Any truth to the rumor that Brad Stevens told them to play really well for about a month and then get hurt after when they got traded?
That sounds about right.
Yeah. That's
it's an old trick you learned from Danny Ainge. Sabotage the assets. No, they're actually they're still sleeper cell Celtics.
Okay, perfect. So we're on the same page here.
Sleeper Celtics.
Ooh, Connor Stallions.
There you go.
New coach of the Celtics.
I like it. But yeah, bummer news about Time Lord. He'll be lost for the year.
Yeah, it is a bummer news.
Yeah, but hopefully this can maybe get some stuff right.
All right. Where did Washington expose USC, and how can they shore that up before tomorrow night's game? Next on The Fan.
It's The Fan on demand.
I'm going to give it to you. Give it to me.
Service Patriot
party bus. Odds on, like the odds-on favorite to be drunkest guy at the party is you, Danny.
It is me, 100%.
I mean, it is like
it's setting up to be quite a day for me.
There is a 1080 The Fan party bus that is going to be rolling in, and it's going to be a great time. We're going to have, a lot of our sales staff and a lot of our great partners for not just Ducks football, but here at the station. You guys are all going down together, and it's you are the odds-on favorite to be the guy that I don't want to say maybe it's life of the party, but you will be raging.
Yeah, I don't get to do this very often.
Yeah.
And it sets up really well because where we're leaving from, and no, I'm not telling you guys, is very close to my house, which means very simple for me to get there and back.
You should just Uber there.
I'm going to. That's
Okay.
what's happening.
Yeah.
The only problem is that we're going to be back at like 2 a.m, and sometimes finding an Uber in that region is difficult.
No. It's worth it just to wait for that Uber, however long it takes.
Probably not a bad idea.
Yeah. And if you're still there when I drive home, I'll come and pick you up and take you.
There you go.
Because I will not be on your level.
No, I will be. Yes, because we're obviously we're party busing down.
See, this is how people plan responsibly.
Yes, no, it's
publicly.
So we're going to be at one location.
Yep.
Before we leave, they're going to have a spread out for us. Then we're going to get on the party bus. And then we'll do things on the party bus. And then we're going to another location.
Don't say it like that.
Then we're going to do things there. And they have a spread for us. Yeah. And then we're going to the game.
Yeah,
Is there something to hold up the roof on this party bus like there was something to hold up the roof on the last party bus?
You're talking about a stripper pole.
No, I was told it was there to hold up the roof.
No, that's not. That's not going to be. No, this is a traditional bus.
This one has our
Well, hey, I'm really happy for you.
I am too, because it might be the highlight of my day.
Yeah.
Because I expect it to go downhill as soon as kickoff happens.
I don't. I think this game is going to be. I think it's going to be a closer game than what we think. But there's one key that it's not a secret. It's exactly what USC needs to stop. And if Oregon can get running and get going downhill, that's how this one gets out of hand. Because last week we saw UW run for 316 yards on 41 carries. Okay. I went and I looked up on Pro Football Focus where those yards came from against Washington. And this is stunning to me. And this is where I think that even though you're not going to have a schematic overhaul, you will have the ability to shore some things up. And when you say simplify the game, where it can be simplified at. Because of the 316 yards rushing that the USC gave up to UW, 223 of them came outside the tackle, on carries outside the tackle. 223 of the 316. And he was only on 24 carries. I mean, you think of that, like getting to the edge is what every team, if you can get to the edge, you're going to have success, right? But the ease with which UW was getting to the edge, it was insane. And they did a lot of it, their damage with the tight end, and then getting even outside of that, where you're blocking down, you're kicking out, and boom, you have a big alleyway to run through. It's mind-blowing that you have a USC team that is not setting the edge properly, because like they should be recruiting at such a higher level.
Yes.
I'm not a USC fan. I'm frustrated by what they do.
It recruits itself.
And if you don't like Luca Evans, the guy, remember Luca Evans, the Orange County Register reporter that got suspended for talking to a player right before he started on the mic. He actually did and this is so concerning. And I'm going to read this to you here. I know. I'm sorry. I'm doing this to you.
No. I mean, it needs to be out there.
But Luca Evans of the Orange County Register, he went and he started tracking every commitment since 2017 from the West Coast of players that were offered by both USC and Oregon. Since 2022, Oregon has landed 33 of them, and USC has landed 25. But this is where you sit there and you go, I don't know how SC can believe that this is sustainable, because this is just a sentence from Evans. He says St. John Bosco coach, which is in Bellflower, California, national powerhouse. They in modern day are usually top 2 or 3 teams in the country. St. John Bosco in Bellflower is one of the best football programs in the nation. This fall, Coach Jason Negro said they haven't heard from USC once in recruiting. It is in their backyard. St. John Bosco, that's where the Uyungleleles have gone. It is a factory for Division I talent. And they said their head coach says they have not heard from USC one time this season. How is that different from Oregon? Negro says that he's in contact with Lanning and defensive coordinator Tosh Luploy weekly.
That's super weird because they have commits from St. John Bosco this year.
Yeah. But
Like, how is that?
Don't know.
How is that possible?
Don't know.
Like that's the part about this. I'm like, how is like? I think they have 3.
Could they just go through the kids?
I guess they could, but it's still
That's very
weird.
uncharacteristic, though.
I'm not saying that it's like the most normal thing ever, right? But
Yeah.
it's not like Lincoln Riley is the most normal guy ever. Like they don't practice tackling. It's why their teams suck at tackling. They
Yeah.
run the air raid. He's a disciple from Mike Leach, one of the most non-normal dudes of all time. So it might just be the way that like they do business. Like they see what they want to see and they go through the kids. They don't go through the coaches.
But then you're not getting. This is the thing about like coaches. You go through the coaches because you learn about the player, right? You learn so much about the player. And now you may have coaches that just hype guys up and they're just a hype machine to get their guys going to the next level. That's not what happens when you're the coach at a program like John Bosco or Mater Dei, right? Or Servite. These coaches are honest with the Division I coaches because that's the only way you continue to develop that pipeline into D1 programs. And so if you're only going through the kid or if you're going through his 7-on-7 coach or his personal trainer, they are quite literally paying those people to hype them up, right? That's the problem with it. So it may be just like USC has gotten what they want out of St. John Bosco this year, and they're calling it good on that. But
they've got
why
2
aren't you
guys.
keeping up on what moving forward?
Yeah.
The juniors, the sophomores, the guys in their program. If you've ever gone, and this is wild, like if you ever go to like a JV game, if like you ever went to like a Servite St. John Bosco JV game, there will be Division I coaches
Yes.
at a JV football
Because
game there.
of the dudes that come out of it. It's the same Bellflower you can throw in that as well.
It is absolutely incredible to think about. But this is where USC
And this is, I'm just looking in the last,
is kind of faltering.
outside of this year, the last 2 years, USC has not had a commitment from St. John Bosco.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, and that's a problem.
That
Like, that's
that
an
is a
issue.
problem because St. John Bosco, Mater Dei, Poly,
Yep.
Bellflower, those are
Well, Servite.
Yep.
Yep.
Those 5 schools are probably the lifeblood of USC, not even just under now, but ever.
Mm.
Those are the pipeline schools to USC. And that's where a lot of their highest end talent has come from.
Mission Viejo too.
Yep.
Mark Sanchez, Nick Reed. They've had a lot of dudes out of there. Yeah.
But I mean, like the LACIF schools.
That's where you have to farm, man.
Yeah, I mean, those quite literally USC's backyard. It's very weird to hear that. And Lincoln Riley did say something the other day that part of me agrees with. Part of me goes, that sounds kind of like an excuse. And he was talking about how the idea of why they don't go get a quarterback every year. They leave a year between each quarterback. And it's because they want to have that gap because they want the guy that they're invested in to know, hey, we're not going and we're getting your replacement. We truly believe in you. But then they started talking about the thing is a week ago about recruiting in their backyard.
Dude, he can find a damn quarterback whenever he wants.
Yeah, because the quarterbacks are going to want to play for him.
Yeah.
But they said something along the lines of, and I'm paraphrasing, that he wanted, it wasn't about recruiting the backyard just to recruit the backyard, which I kind of understand that as the recruiting footprints have opened up across the country now, particularly with the NIL. But if you're going to say that and you're willing to forego the most fertile recruiting ground in the country on this side of the country, then you need to be getting kids out of Florida, Texas, Georgia, Alabama.
No, you have to recruit the West Coast because there's not a lot of guys here.
Yes.
And this has been the big problem. Like, and this is where Oregon and Washington really made grounds, is that there was big chunks of years where all of the talent was leaving the West Coast and they were gone. Like skills and line.
Oh,
you can't afford to have linemen.
Georgia and
leave the West Coast.
Bama were just gobbling up everyone.
Texas too,
Texas,
Clemson. They all came in here and they were plucking all the talent at. Now you saw USC, Oregon, and UW started closing the fences down around this area again, and that's really good. But you can't afford to have them. You can't afford to say, "Yeah, we're going to ignore any part of our backyard." You have to be a pit bull up and down the West Coast because those are the guys that will not just go to your school, but they have the propensity to stay. The guys that come across the country are the ones that will likely leave again, right?
Because they don't feel
you get homesick, and if things go wrong, you take off. And where do you head? DJ Uiagalelei. You head back west.
Yeah.
He went from St. John Bosco to Clemson, and then it was like when things fell apart, where did he go? He didn't stay out there. He went back west.
It was a matter of what West Coast school do I go to?
That's right.
And everybody knew he was going to end up. There was talk about is he the guy that ends up at UCLA?
Yeah.
Remember then?
Oh yeah.
So there's always so much in the as much as you want to recruit the country, kids, it's natural. You want to stay with what you know.
And this is going to be like what I think when it all comes down to it, what we're talking about right here is where Oregon has grown this advantage against USC. It's the focal point of your roster in where you're recruiting guys to. The transfer portal has been incredible for Oregon. I mean, I was talking with Steve Tannen down in Eugene about this earlier this week, that you just look at the secondary, right? There's like Evan Williams, Tysheem Johnson, Kyrie Jackson, right? Those are three guys that are playing massive roles, and those three guys are transfers, right? Jordan Birch up front, Taki Taimani, Casey Rogers. These are guys up front that are all transfers. And
that's 7 of your 11 are all transfers.
When you think about what they were doing, and some of those guys have been here for a couple of years, some of those guys are here right now, but they've built depth. And what they were able to do is they've punctuated that depth through the portal with getting Blake Purchase out of Colorado as an edge rusher, getting Tuioti, who's a Sheldon kid because dad coached here. But you get Tuioti and Mateo Uiagalelei, right? You get these guys who are freshmen, and you're sprinkling in your homegrown quote unquote homegrown recruits are the guys that you bring in as freshmen. And those guys are playing, and they're playing big roles for this team up front, sprinkled in and around them with the depth that they were able to grow on the defensive side of the ball. And then you have, these instances where you have a guy like, you have two guys in Dante Manning and Triquez Bridges who get thrown into that UW game. And Bridges, he duded up, man. He was a dude down the stretch in that UW game, and he was fresh off the bench. That was the guy who started for you last year. Yeah. And this is where they have put so much they put so much effort and interest into the defensive side of the ball, and especially the trenches on both sides of the ball. That's where this game is going to be won tomorrow night. It's going to be in the trenches, and it's just like we'll talk about Oregon State later on, but when you are deep in the trenches, November is a scary month for any opponent because this is where you lean on them. This is where it's like it's no fun when you have a UW team.
Somebody's banged up somewhere all the time.
That rushes for 316 yards against you, and you're sitting there. The very next week, you get an offensive line like Oregon, which is a bunch of maulers, and I think like push rate. They have the highest. Oregon has the highest push rate in all of college football.
They're just knocking guys off the ball,
moving people movers.
Yeah,
that is where you see the separation between the programs. And which
is something, 10, 12 years ago, USC had, and they just have not gotten back to it.
No, you're right. You're right.
Post Pete, they have not gotten back to that.
And that is where, look, this game can be tighter than what people think it's going to be.
And that's the Caleb Williams factor.
Well, the Caleb Williams factor and the simplifying things like what we just started this whole segment with. They ran for 223 yards on 24 carries.
A freaking edge.
Outside of the tackles.
A team that wants to be air raid.
Yeah.
Ran all over you.
Yes. And it was on the edges, like just getting the ball and running on you. Like if simplifying the defense, if Nua and Brian Odom just say our simplifications as new defensive coordinators with Alex Grinch is
contain.
We simplify run fits, then they will have more success because they're not short of athletes.
No.
They have athletes. Depth is a concern
For sure. They're really only 6 deep on the defensive line.
and they sure as hell better be good tacklers come tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Because it.
And I was just
get gnarly
checking
from
the
that.
weather. The weather looks like we're going to get rain probably around halftime.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's
Because I was looking. I hate that.
Yeah.
Gosh dang it!
I looked at the report. It said about 8:30 we'll get rain.
I still got nothing. I still
Really?
got nothing on mine.
AccuWeather says rain likely.
I got rain at between 2 and 3, and then it dies off. But hey, you know it never rains at Autzen.
Yeah. I'm definitely packing the rain gear.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, you should.
It's also going to be spill gear.
Yeah, you should do that just for the wicking, the moisture wicking of it all.
The what?
When you spill your beer, because he's
Oh,
saying you're going to
spill,
be hammy salamied.
Yeah.
You might be banged up, dude.
Stop.
Now I'm going to be sober as a bird.
All right.
You ruined
An
it.
update, 322 votes in. I got banged up on Saturday. That was Will Ortner said that to us. This means your 4 choices: hurt, drunk, car accident, or other. Hurt has taken the lead, 48.8%.
What's second
hurt.
place?
Drunk,
Okay.
41.3%. Car accident, 2.2%. Other, and boy, it's a journey if you go and you look at the comments.
The others is great.
Do not.
They
Don't
have
go into the
commented.
replies. Don't go into the comments.
Always go into the comments.
Whatever you do.
Because that's where you find things like this.
Don't do it at work.
Sometimes it be in your own family. But first, here's a sportsman update from Will Order.
This is a Football Friday.
Yeah.
You know what I
Like,
mean? Like-
well, I mean, I think you would. This is something. Have you seen these Sylvester Stallone documentary on Netflix?
I have.
Sly? Okay. I did not know this about Sylvester Stallone. He was a nationally ranked polo player. Yeah.
Like water polo or horse polo?
No, horse polo.
That's why it was called the Italian Stallion.
Yeah. No. But he was a nationally ranked polo player when he was like 13. And his dad was jealous of him.
What?
Yeah. And so during a match, like his dad came and like choked him and like choke slammed him off the horse during a match. And Stallone was like, I never want to see a horse again. And like he quit playing polo at that point because his dad was an a-hole. And yeah.
That explains so much.
When you say like imagine being like really good at your craft and everybody in your family knows it, it's not always good.
No, it's not always good because sometimes you have some ungrateful kids and family members that are around. Like I don't know if you're AJ Brown, who's been probably the best wide receiver in football this year.
He's really
been
stinking
so good.
He got away from Ryan Tannehill and he let his wings fly.
Yeah, turns out you get somebody who can get you the ball a little more often, a little more up tempo offense, you look a little better.
Yeah, he is really just fly, Eagles fly.
I think it's actually the sound that he's
spread
made.
his wings.
Yeah, as he takes off every time he gets a catch.
You're dang right.
Contractually obligated, in fact.
You're dang right.
But AJ tweeted out, my nephew favorite player is Justin Jefferson. LOL, it'd be your own family. We going to see if Jet get him something for Christmas because I'm not.
Dang. I like the cut of that kid's jib.
I mean,
like he's keeping it real with you.
I know, but also like that's Domas Sabonis.
Yeah.
When Arvidas was here, and Domas, for those that don't know, was born and raised in Portland. His favorite player when they were here was Rasheed Wallace, not his dad.
Well, both teams played hard.
I mean, isn't that
good night? God bless.
Would you feel a certain way about that if Bennett was like,
no, that's what my kid does.
After he picks the other team,
he will actively pick the other team, which I look at it as it's a sign he likes to compete. Like everything is a competition with him. But this is payback for me because my dad was a Dodger fan, Dodgers Astros in the 80s. Like I started rooting for the other guys, and just kind of going against it. But I think there's like inherently in any kid that is like a competitor, like they want that, hey, me versus you thing. But I always look at it though as you will idolize those guys that make it to the pinnacle. And like AJ Brown is there. And I couldn't imagine like being a kid where like when my dad was coaching like NAI and D3 guys, I idolized those guys growing up. And like and they could do no wrong because to me they were physical freaks, right? I could imagine being around like an NFL player and being like, yeah, no, I don't like you. I like the guy who does the gritty.
Right? There's just something there where you're just like, I don't know, man. When it's family, this isn't a situation where it's like there's this tremendous gap. Like, don't get me wrong, Justin Jefferson, when healthy, is probably the best wide receiver. I think I lean towards Jamar Chase, but
I like Justin. I think it's Justin Jefferson. Like there's no like real wrong answer here.
But also like AJ Brown's like right on the edge of that group.
And yeah, they all do it in different ways too.
And that's the thing is like this isn't, Jerry Rice in his prime where you're just like, it's Jerry, then everybody else falls in line.
Yeah.
To kind of do that to your uncle, that seems a little messed up.
That is messed up.
Right?
I think AJ Brown maybe needs a dance. Because I honestly do. I think the gritty is why like every little kid loves
Fortnite dances.
Yeah, everybody loves Justin Jefferson because he just hits the gritty. Like if you ever go to like a flag football game or you go to like a pee-wee football game where they have like game after game, they'll cycle like 4 games through. There's fields all over. You will see the gritty after every stupid touchdown. Like little kids just hit the gritty
Oh yeah,
no matter what.
I went into a Newburgh Sherwood youth football game
See?
because my niece was a cheerleader,
You
and
do it.
there was gritty everywhere.
Yeah.
Just
So I
bang,
think that's
bang.
what's
a lot of flossing too.
that's what it is, and the no nonsense attitude of AJ Brown maybe is why his nephew doesn't
His
like
Q
it.
ratings down.
Yeah, his Q rating is
Yeah.
down a little bit. That's hilarious though. I love that.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe wisen up a little bit and get your very rich uncle to buy you some stuff too.
True.
Just like
True.
this is a learning experience for the nephew.
Man,
Not-
I love watching AJ Brown. I love watching the Eagles. I think
they're
they're
just a unique
so
offense. They're fun.
to watch. They are.
Jason Kelsey,
Oh.
sexiest man alive.
Yeah, he lost to
That's such a
McDreamy.
Bush league. How has McDreamy not won it before, and how is Jason Kelsey
Wait,
not the one
he
who won?
hasn't won it before.
I think that was his first win. Don't you can't be like a repeat winner.
Of sexiest man alive.
I think
You
Oh,
can?
sure you can.
Yeah.
I feel
I
like
think Clooney's won it like 4 times.
yeah,
I'll say,
yeah,
then wouldn't it be the same person that wins every year?
yeah.
No, you can have a glow up year.
Oh yeah, you can have 1 year. You can have like
Look, man, Jessica Simpson had the Dukes of Hazzard year, and that was a good year.
She had more than just that.
But I'm saying that was a peak year.
Like Patrick Dempsey going from "Can't Buy Me Love." Like you're not gonna understand this reference at all, are you?
If you make any Grey's Anatomy references, I've got a shot.
No. From being the nerd in Can't Buy Me Love to being sexiest man alive.
It's quite the come up.
Dude.
He was called McDreamy in 05.
Yeah, I know. But if you go back to, I don't even know when, like 87,
Yeah.
88-ish, Can't Buy Me Love.
Yeah.
It's a great movie. You should watch it.
Long before you were born.
Yeah. And most
get
of the
right on
references you will not,
Mm.
like it's just going to go, like American Bandstand. What does that mean to you?
So most of the best parts of that movie I will not get. I'll get right on watching that movie. That means nothing to me. American Bandstand means nothing.
Okay. Can't Buy Me Love, 87.
There you go. Good.
He
Nice,
was
nice.
Ronald
Well done.
Miller in 87, played an absolute nerd, and now he's the sexiest man alive. That's pretty awesome. But it's also equal to the come up of an offensive lineman
Being
even being
nominated.
nominated for
Yeah.
sexiest man alive.
He's the highest selling female jersey sales before his brother overtook him.
Which I mean, it makes sense because
He's a hot.
he is. He also used his wife to prop up his hotness, saying, "Look, my wife's hot, and she thinks I'm hot." It's a good move by him.
Women like Kylie Kelsey.
They do.
Mhm.
She's fun.
I don't know who she is.
That's Jason Kelsey's wife.
You should
I don't know.
you should look her up. She's
Yeah.
got some funny she says some
fun.
funny stuff. She's a really good interview. Yeah.
High approval rating.
Big
All
fan.
right.
So,
All
all
right,
right.
there we go.
With that, we got more stuff to get to. We'll get to that more. Danny Essett, Danny the Fan.
Oregon.
Doesn't sound like it's something that's going to be all that impressive or all that crazy. But look, man, I want to give Troy Taylor and Stanford credit for quite literally having something for their opponent every single week in a way that you don't see coaches change stuff. Like they have fundamentally changed their offense week in, week out. Like, we don't have much to work with. So what can I put together this tape bubblegum and MacGyver something together for this week?
Troy Taylor's been a damn good coach everywhere he's been, and that nothing has changed. And he will catch you by surprise, and he always has a changeup, and I appreciate that out of him. But for Oregon State this week, like when you look at this game against Stanford, they are the better team. They are at home, and this time of year, I alluded to this earlier. If you are built on your offensive line, this is where you are the worst team to play. Is November. It starts getting colder. You get teams from California coming up here where it's a good 10 to 15 degrees colder, and
it's wet.
It stings a little bit more when you hit. And when you have and your identity is built with those big hog mollies up front, this is where you can lean on teams. And this is where you should lean on teams. Everybody else is dinged up. Like, it hurts. Nobody really wants to be out there. But if you are a built between the tackles team and you have a Damian Martinez and a Deshaun Fenwick,
hell, a DJ,
you have got to start. This is where you lean on those guys and your O-line, and you just crumble teams. And like that's why I'm really excited to see how Oregon State comes out this week, because you have an opportunity to. Stanford always plays them tough, and Stanford is going to be no different, even though the coach may be different, personnel is far different. This is going to be a game where you're going to get punched in the mouth by Stanford. That's what they do. It's how they roll. And last year, I mean, we remember Oregon, it was 28-27. That was a horrible Stanford team.
Yes, it might probably worse than this year's Stanford
but
team.
this is the big difference is that game was in October. This one is in November. And I feel like this is just going to be a keep away game. I'm excited to see Oregon. Like, it's not going to be the most sexy game and appealing game to watch, but this is the one where you go, all right, the Beavs are ready for that final stretch where they started suffocating teams last year. They really, like, the final 3 games, Oregon State just said, no, this is who we are. This is what we do. We are going to run the ball down your damn throat, and they break your will. They break your will eventually.
What's interesting is like that's the identity we know, and yet Vegas has them as 21-point favorites. 21-point favorites.
I see it.
Well, I mean, that doesn't sound like run team in November.
No, but
you know what I mean? Like,
it's what you do. Like, when you break that team's will and you just march down the field, like that number is big because Stanford's not good.
Yeah. Oh, I know that, but but when you think about run team, you don't think about big spreads.
Yeah, but there's so much more because of the speed they have on the outside, right? Like, they are. But this, like, they can beat you deep and stretch you deep, and they have an advantage if they want to push you vertically with their skills. They'll be able to have that. But I'm excited to see the identity start showing again, because at times you're like, okay, when's it going to happen? When's the dam going to break? Last week, they went for 195 yards, and it was steady dose of Damian Martinez in Boulder, and I loved every second of it. You start ramping that up even more, and you have 19 straight runs to end the Civil War as the cap of the season. Like that was they were building their identity as it went on against lesser opponents at the end of the year. This is what you're going to see the same thing, because you do that also to just get out of this game as healthy as you can.
Yes.
I don't care what the final score is. I don't care
Win's a
if
win,
people
just
say
move on. It's not pretty,
if
it's not
they're
points,
healthy and nobody gets hurt, Washington, Oregon, that's what you got in front of you. And that, to me,
they could find their way in the Pac-12 title game still.
Yeah, this game could be like a 10-point game, as the final score. But if it is a late score, fourth quarter score by Stanford, and you're just like, we're getting out of this thing healthy.
You've got your second unit guys out there. You don't care.
Doesn't got to be It doesn't got to be pretty.
No.
Get to these final 2 weeks and make a damn statement in those final 2 weeks, because you're the highest ranked 2-loss team in the country. And you've got Washington and Oregon ahead of you.
You can you can be the biggest impact to the Pac-12 that remains.
And I love it.
It's gonna be
I
fun.
love it, man. It's
gonna
going to
be
be really fun.
All right, coming up next, hour number 3, we'll reset. We have a ton to get to in the NFL, including the stories coming out of the Raiders locker room that led to Josh McDaniels firing. And my God, what a clown show. Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan. statement released by Michigan?
Yeah.
Do you want to?
Yeah, I do.
Do you
I
want to
do.
hear it?
If you as Will said, he's been suspended for the final regular season games.
And the Big Ten is saying that this is not a disciplinary action against Harbaugh, but as the face of the program, at least they're getting this part of it right. They're not suspending any kids. There's no scholarships.
They shouldn't take wins or any of that.
Yes.
No, everything should still be ahead of them.
They're getting the right path. They're still not there yet because it should be a fine. Nothing more than a fine. You make it monetarily damaging, people stop doing things, I promise you.
Yeah.
That's what actually matters.
Yep.
Just here to say that, But this is the statement from the University of Michigan just a few minutes ago. It's a long one. Like all members of the Big Ten Conference, we are entitled to a fair, deliberate, and thoughtful process to determine the full set of facts before a judgment is rendered. Today's action by Commissioner Tony Petitti disregards the conference's own handbook, violates basic tenets of due process, and sets an untenable precedent of assessing penalties before an investigation has been completed. We are dismayed at the commissioner's rush to judgment when there is an ongoing NCAA investigation, one in which we are fully cooperating.
Okay.
There's more. Commissioner Tony Petitti's hasty action today suggests that this is more about reacting to pressure from other conference members than a desire to apply the rules fairly and impartially. By taking this action at this hour, the commissioner is personally inserting himself onto the sidelines, which is kind of funny because they're removing a coach from the sidelines, and altering the level playing field that he is claiming to preserve. And doing so on Veterans Day, a court holiday, to try to thwart the university from seeking immediate judicial relief is hardly a profile in impartiality. What? To ensure fairness in the process, we intend to seek a court order together with Coach Harbaugh preventing this disciplinary action from taking effect. Yes, Michigan, there will be lawyers. Yes, they are trying to get an injunction. And yes, if I am betting tomorrow, Jim Harbaugh will be on the sidelines for the Michigan Wolverines.
They're trying to go invoking the veterans too. Like, to do this on Veterans Day.
Oh, buddy, listen, they knew what they were doing.
Like, all I can imagine is like their president's like 9/11. Terrorism.
Yep.
Support the troops.
You know what I saw? Totally unrelated. I saw this morning and it made me laugh. Remember the shoe throwing at George Bush?
Yeah.
If you watch that clip back, he dodges the first one.
Yeah.
And then he's like, come on now.
Yeah.
What you got?
Like,
and he throws the second one, and he has the biggest smirk. I don't care where you stand politically. It is objectively one of the funniest things ever. A sitting president is smiling as somebody's throwing shoes at him like it's a game. Like, very clearly that Barbara's throwing a chunkler or two at George Bush.
I mean, yeah, he's been through it a time or two. I mean, he was the Rangers owner, like.
I mean, he told the Secret
choked
Service
on a pretzel. Like
he told the Secret Service to stand down. Like, don't worry,
this.
I got this. Now watch this drive.
He's like, I got strategery here. I'm gonna duck and dive.
Objectively hilarious.
Go ahead and throw that shoe. I bet he was sitting there thinking of Austin Powers. Like, who throws a shoe?
100%.
Here goes another one. How many legs does this guy have?
It's like he knows, he knows that the gun only has 2 rounds after both shoes come. Like,
so
you ain't got nothing left to throw, buddy.
Yeah, like that is hilarious.
It is.
Like, and he probably had no idea. Like, that is one of the biggest insults you could have.
I just threw my shoes at you. Now I'm screwed.
Yeah, in their culture,
Your
it's
shoes-
like
your
I'm gonna
shoes are
throw
now
that shoe.
evidence.
It's like, yeah, well, you did a police a favor because you're going to take those off when you go to jail, anyways.
I don't know if they process them a little bit different in Iraq.
Oh man!
But back to Michigan.
Yeah.
We were talking off air. I go, watch what's going to happen with this. They're going to have lawyers.
Oh, of course they're going to have lawyers. And this is what Michigan's going to try to do because it's like, we didn't do anything wrong. Come on. Like, we shouldn't vacate wins. Jim Harbaugh shouldn't be fired. Like, that's one thing. But you are the head coach of the program, and you are going to be held responsible for what happens under your watch. We know this.
Unless
because
you can get away with it.
You know what? History tells us this. And this isn't like Michigan is acting as if like we have never done anything wrong. Like you in the middle of a separate investigation that's still ongoing.
Also, this is right out not only the Michigan playbook, but just the general playbook. Deny until there's a verdict actually issued. And look,
I love how well they're playing the victim card.
Also,
come on.
Legally, from a legal standpoint,
Yeah.
They have a very good case because it is an ongoing investigation, and
Yeah,
to
sure.
issue some sort of verdict or punishment before the investigation closes, they're gonna have some ground to stand on.
And they're gonna say like, "Hey, the bylaws say we should have due process." Well, the evidence is pretty damning against
But
you.
legally, they're right.
And you know who the commissioner though serves? All members of the Big 10, not just Michigan.
No.
And like that is going to be something that this is being pushed in. I think like one thing that Michigan fans and the people are saying like this is gonna be slam dunk in their favor is like this is university presidents and head coaches are asking for this. Is it petty? Hell yeah, it's petty. But so is going and spying on your opponents and filming them. It's like these things, like it's tit for tat here.
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Why are you sitting there and surprised that people are going to be this way? Like, look, I've been through this. The playbook is, we don't know all the facts yet.
Yeah.
Well, when the facts are damning, you just have to sit back at some point and say, all right, yeah, I mean, we'll take whatever punishment there is, because you know what? No matter what the punishment is for your team, people will not be satisfied.
No.
They won't be satisfied.
Which
And no
is
matter
why Michigan knows that, and they're going to sit here and go, so we're not going to take the extra.
Yeah, and no matter what people say, like no matter what you say, like, hey, electronic sign stealing was being done literally that season by teams not named the Astros, Yankees and Red Sox, and people will go, I don't care. You guys did it worse. And you know what? That's true.
Yes.
And that's going to be true with Michigan. You guys need to learn the playbook, guys. Like I've got unique.
But they're waiting for the immunity deal. They're getting here.
I know. Guess what? Ain't gonna happen because everybody saw Rob Manfred and we're like, They saw Roger Goodell burn the tape of Spygate 1.0, and people are like, that's not good enough. Like people are learning from these mistakes. And
are you sure you're not a Michigan fan?
Hey, I was texting with my buddy who's a Michigan and Patriots fan. And I was like, hey, man, you know the playbook by now. He's like, oh, yeah, we got this. I go, if you need anything,
maybe what's happening
is
that Michigan is drawing up a contract, but it's for Bill Belichick, and Harbaugh is going to go coach the Patriots.
Maybe. A little tradesies.
Yeah.
A little tradesies.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Two miserable people.
Well, the video surveillance of Bill Belichick leaving his booty call did not seem like he was a miserable human being. He seemed like he rocked.
Shirtless.
Yeah.
Doing the walk of shame.
You're dang right.
Dude's
At
rock.
71.
Leaking the walk of shame for a 71-year-old man shirtless. I don't.
Yeah, and look, that wasn't like Bill Belichick shacking up with like some rich older lady. That was a very middle class neighborhood, and I'm imagining that whoever he shacked up with is 30 or under. I'm going out on that limb.
Ooh.
I don't know who released that footage. I bet it's not like his old ex Linda, who was a rich cougar. No, this is. I think that this was when you're not even leaving. Like he didn't even take time to find his shirt. He was like, I'm out.
I gotta go.
I need to be gone.
That's a keepsake for you. Gotta go.
Yeah,
because if this gets out.
Yeah. Well, and it did. And it did.
Because you can find out who lives there pretty easily, I think, if you wanted to sleuth it, just by like looking at the houses nearby.
Oh, we know there's people like you that are going to do that. Yeah, you'll find it.
Yeah.
Real easy.
If I wanted to spend some time doing it, I could do it.
Dudes rock.
Dudes who rock.
Dudes rock so
not wrong.
much.
Yeah.
They rock so much that we
good
wasted
for
an
Bill.
entire. Well, we wasted an entire segment. We delayed a segment where we're going to laugh at Josh McDaniels. We'll get to that and more coming up here on Danny and Dusty today. The Fan. spikier recently. Have you noticed that? Shout out to all of our listeners out there who are listening, obviously natively on 1080 The Fan, but also on YouTube, youtube.com/1080 AM The Fan. Join us on YouTube, like, rate, review, subscribe, do all of the things. We're just short of 1,000 last time I checked.
And by the way, that conversation was footballs. We were talking footballs yesterday. I was actually prepping the game balls for the high school football game tonight.
I had a friend that texted me that said, this was the show that you were filling in for, wasn't it? I was like, yeah.
Of course.
That was...
You were a part of this. Yeah, but they actually are. Like, I mean, it is amazing. Ball technology is getting better.
It is insane. I have very small hands, and you threw me your balls, and it stuck right
fit
to it.
right in there?
Yeah. It was incredible.
Yeah.
Speaking of bad fits, Josh McDaniels, the Raiders, not a good fit. Jay Glazer this past weekend was on Fox Sunday, and he had insight into a meeting that basically led to Josh McDaniels getting the heave-ho, and it gets crazier every second it goes on.
There was such a big disconnect with the players there and Josh McDaniels that players recently were going upstairs to the owner, Mark Davis, to tell them what their problems were. However, the big thing was last Thursday, there was this big airing of the grievance meeting, and players just unloaded on Josh McDaniels, from captain to player to player. And finally, Josh McDaniels actually had Antonio Pierce get up and speak on behalf of him and the coaches. When Antonio Pierce got up there, he said, look, guys, we have to have our own culture. It's got to be about culture here. And we also have to look at it. And he brought up the old Giants team that beat the Patriots, Josh McDaniels' team, in the Super Bowl in 2007 season. He said, no matter who we played, we thought we could beat them. We had a game plan that we could beat them. We had to believe that, and that's not here. We have to believe it here at the Raiders. We could beat anybody. Well, he finishes up that speech. Everybody thinks they're great, except for Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels then goes over to him and says, don't ever talk about the Patriots like that. And then you really saw how divided that building got. That got up to Mark Davis, and I think Mark Davis looked at it and go, okay, I'm going to choose the guy who believes that we can win every single week, and that's what his plan is going to be. And by the way, this is not just a throwaway for Antonio Pierce where, he's just going to coach out the rest of the season. He has a shot to keep this job.
That is so wild.
Everything that comes out of that, and the only thing that idiot hears is, don't you talk about the Patriots that way. Not that your players hate you, not that they don't want to play for you, not that they're going to the owner above your head because you're such an idiot.
Yeah. And I mean, like, that was on Sunday. Like, in the ensuing days, more and more is leaked out. And then Jeremy Fowler of ESPN, he has a pretty lengthy kind of write-up on what happened. And part of it, one thing that people keep going back to is Josh McDaniels' utter lack of people skills. Like, he just does not know how to relate to people, convey, messaging towards his team or his coaching staff. And that's the crazy thing to me, is how in the world has this guy gotten 3 head coaching jobs? Because remember, he got the Broncos job.
Mm-hmm.
He went back to New England. He got the Colts job and then left the Colts job and took the Raiders job later on. He's gotten 3 head coaching jobs, and the same messaging over and over is how horrible he is with people skills. And obviously, with the way that the whole Colts thing ended very quickly, it was just that. Like, that is a signal and a massive red flag that he doesn't know how to handle any sort of messaging that he wants to get out, because he left them hanging high and dry. Like that, boy, that he is never going to be a head coach again. And some people are just coordinators, and that should be okay.
Yeah.
Josh McDaniels can call plays. He can dial up offenses, but controlling a locker room and controlling a coaching staff is a completely different thing, and Josh McDaniels doesn't have those skills.
No, and this story is so dumb. When he was let go, instead of letting his kids enjoy their Halloween trick-or-treat, he called them back to break the news to them when he was fired. There's another story in here about when he was with the Broncos. Former Broncos tight end who wrote a book.
Seems very self-absorbed.
Wrote an article shedding light on McDaniels' failures as a head coach, including this little gem, that McDaniels' ego was so fragile that he traded away future star running back Peyton Hillis because McDaniels' wife found Peyton Hillis attractive.
Boy. That's a tough one. Yeah, like
as
in some of
insane as this is,
you don't know if it's true or not, but
it's believable.
at this point, you're sitting there going, "It might be true." Oh man. Well, the Raiders are unfortunately going to be on primetime television. Like, did the NFL just say we're throwing this weekend away, primetime wise?
Oh yeah, no, this is a horrible toss. I mean, that game last night, 16-13.
Punt.
Good
punt.
God.
Field goal, punt.
All I heard
Awful.
all night was cha-ching, 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 cha-ching as the under was going to cash.
Yeah.
But it was, I didn't even watch the game. I just watched the drive updates on my phone.
Mhm.
I was like, this is putrid.
2 touchdowns, 5 field goals.
Ugh.
I'm glad I turned on the movie.
What'd you watch?
The Covenant.
You know what?
No idea what that is.
It's a
Leo.
Guy Ritchie movie. It's got Jake Gyllenhaal. He's got he's in
Oh,
Afghanistan.
that's the other one. I was thinking of Revenant.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say you had me all gassed up.
No, I haven't seen The Covenant. I've
You
actually
should
heard
watch.
I've
The
heard it's pretty
Covenant.
good. Yeah,
It's pretty good. He's Jake Gyllenhaal. He's like a soldier. He's got his Afghanistan translator.
interpreter. Yep.
Yep. Thank you. And basically the interpreter helps him, so he tries to help him later. It's pretty cool. It's a good
That's
movie.
awesome.
Yeah,
It's Guy Ritchie.
I believe
Very
it's
well done.
loosely based off a true story.
The message is basically like we left too many behind.
Yeah.
We need to go help them. It's a good
Which is, I will say unequivocally, was true.
it's a good movie. Totally worth watching.
That happened. We'd screw people over. And yeah.
That's awful.
Yeah.
But our primetime games are Panthers Bears last night,
Ugh.
Sunday night football, Jets Raiders.
Which it's supposed to be the
Don't
rematch.
say it.
No,
That's awful.
When they made it at the start of the season, it was supposed to be, Devontae versus Aaron and
Yeah.
Raiders, all that.
If you thought that the 39 was the over under last night?
No, 38.
It was 38?
Yeah.
Well, if you thought that was bad, over under for Sunday night football is 36.5.
Is it really?
Yep.
I feel like there's better offense there, but I could be wrong.
And then Monday night football is Broncos Bills.
Oh God. Ugh.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we have some really decent games like
the
during
rest
the
of
day.
the rest of the day games are
You
great.
got like Texans Bengals.
I think that's gonna be a good game.
Saints Vikings isn't going to be a great game, but there's a lot on the line.
Yep.
And if you like car accidents, watching Josh
And by a
Dobbs.
lot on the line, Dusty means he bet on it.
No, yeah, yes, but the playoffs. Remember we talked about this earlier in the week.
Yeah, you can actually
The
be
7 seed is
smacked
disgusting.
in the playoffs now.
And the winner of that game is in the driver's seat for a wild card berth if the Saints just don't win the NFC South outright. Then you have Niners Jags. I think that's be a really good game. You have the 49ers on a 3-game losing streak as they head to Duval. Browns Ravens.
That's actually, I think, it'd be a really good game.
AFC North just slugfest. Lions Chargers.
I'm actually excited for that one.
That's going to be a decent game. It'll be exciting. You may have the Lions mop the floor with them, but they're only 3-point favorites in that game. So, we have some decent games outside of the craftitude of games that we have in primetime. Monday Night Football, Broncos Bills is not.
Maybe
gonna
that's the
be
key
much
is to
better.
put the crappy games on primetime and then make Red Zone just rule on Sunday.
Yeah.
Is that the play?
But that's the the problem with this is that of these games, I know that we're not going to have all the ones we want to watch locally. I don't know what the doubleheader schedule is if we get a doubleheader on
Red
one
Zone,
of the
baby.
networks, but I know. But Red Zone, you don't get the full feel of the game.
Also,
I will get scores.
Go
You
to
get
a
scores.
bar.
Well, no, just I bought the big package so I can
There you go.
do the multi.
Yeah, or you can do YouTube TV.
Yeah.
They've got cool stuff on there. They have Red Zone, right?
Sunday
Yeah, that's
ticket.
right. Yeah, that's Sunday ticket.
Sunday
Yeah,
ticket.
and then you can do the multi. You can do the multi screen too,
Yeah.
which is really cool.
You can go to like a sports bar,
Yeah,
get some wings.
I like bars.
Are you prepared, sir?
Prepared? Oh, for
an or?
We'll
Or?
find
You're
out.
not saying it the
Is
right
Will
way.
prepared or is he not?
We'll get to that and more. But first, here's a Sports Center update with Will Order.
This is a Football Friday edition of Danny and Dusty.
Brought to you by the Odyssey app.
Now,
is still in as Will Ortner has put together his own version of Or for our Friday afternoon listeners.
Will Ortner.
Will Ortner.
First, I have to turn on my mic.
There you go.
That is how my voice will come out. First, worst look. Jim Harbaugh in the sign stealing scandal, or the fact that the Mavericks don't have their court for the in-season tournament due to a manufacturing issue.
Look, I've said this from the get-go. I think there is plausible deniability from Jim Harbaugh, and they're going to use every single shred of it that they can. We're already seeing that from Michigan. If they want my advice, by the way, people are going to say, how is this all funded by Connor Stallion's $55,000 salary?
The vacuums.
It's the vacuums. It's the vacuums. It's the vacuums. It's the vacuums. There's always money in the vacuums.
Look, Dusty,
There's always money in
a
the banana
vacuum.
stand.
In a vacuum.
Yeah.
My best in shape.
So I'm going to say it's the Mavericks and not having the court. The NBA is pushing this so much that care about the in-season tournament. Care about the in-season tournament. Look, we got new courts for it. Look, we wear new uniforms for it. And
they botched the courts, not just in design, but like Portland's court had literal dead spots on the floor.
Yeah.
I put the ball down myself.
Yeah.
They were hollow. Like if you got to catch and shoot three in the Blazers corner and you like did a quick little put the ball down, that ball might not come back up. It was dead.
Home court advantage.
Yeah. The Indiana Pacers court was greased like a pig. Guys were slipping and sliding all over the place. Denver's court, the 3-point line was wrong. The Blazers court wasn't put together up until basically game time because it was cut differently. And now the Mavs court doesn't fit together. So I'm going to go to the Mavs court here on this one.
So good.
It's fantastic. All right, number 2, best upset chance. Ole Miss versus Georgia, or no Jim Harbaugh, Michigan versus Penn State.
It's Ole Miss. It's Ole Miss.
You think?
Yeah. I think Michigan's just outright better than Penn State on literally everything they do. And Harbaugh's going to coach tomorrow. If we're taking bets on Harbaugh coaching tomorrow, give me the over on Harbaugh coaching. He's going to be on the field tomorrow.
I'll just say I'll say it's Penn State because they're at home and they're good. They're a good football team and they can present mismatches. I think Michigan does run all over them, but I also think that Georgia is just that good.
Yeah.
Georgia's just that good at home.
Number 3, more likely to not have a team in the college football playoff. The Pac-12 or the Big 12.
I think at this time it's got to be the Big 12, right?
It's the Big 12.
Yeah.
I think it's more likely the Big 12 isn't in than the Pac-12 because if you look down the line on what is ahead of the Big 12, Oklahoma losing that's a big blow.
Huge.
That's a huge blow because Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Oklahoma,
They all have 2 losses,
they're all
right?
2 losses. And right now you're looking at a Texas versus Oklahoma State Big 12 championship game. Look, there's no guarantees that Oklahoma State makes it through the regular season unscathed because they got at Central Florida. They're only 2.5-point favorites. And then they go to Houston and then they have BYU at home. But they could trip up at some point down the line. I think it's Pac-12 because if Oregon and Washington just take care of their business,
They'll be
you're
in the
sitting there,
Pac-12
the
game.
winner of the Pac-12 title goes to the playoff.
Here's a fun scenario. Georgia.
Yeah.
Sorry, someone's messing with my wide orbit. Georgia undefeated.
Okay.
Michigan undefeated.
Yeah.
FSU undefeated. Oregon wins against UW, 1 loss. Alabama, they would end up having 2 losses. Or so Texas at 1 loss. Texas goes all the way through.
Yeah.
Who gets in between Oregon and Texas?
I think what the committee is saying is that they believe Oregon is a better team. That is why they're there. Texas's resume is far better. I mean, it is. But if you look at the end of the day, you can say Oregon may not have 3 because they have 3 ranked wins right now. Texas does. And only Alabama and Arizona
Have
are the
that,
only
yeah.
2 teams that have 3 ranked
Arizona
wins.
could have 4.
Arizona, folks.
Yeah, Arizona could have 4.
You might know something weird about Noah Fafita, BT Dubs. He is the first quarterback to start his career against 5 ranked opponents. Like all 5 of his starts have come against ranked opponents.
He's looked great.
Yeah, and he's 3-2. But if you're looking at Texas doesn't have that luxury at the end of their schedule to have a win as quality as Oregon State and potentially Washington in the conference championship game, because what they're looking at the rest of the way is TCU, Iowa State, and Texas Tech for Texas, and then potentially one more game against a ranked team. So it's Oregon.
Yeah, I'm with him.
Yeah.
All right, last one. Best game to watch in prime time. Jets versus Raiders or Vikings Broncos. These are your next two Sunday night prime time Carrie Underwood games.
Vikings Broncos.
I'm going Raiders Jets.
I don't think it's close. It's Vikings Broncos.
I don't think it's close the other way.
The Josh Dobbs experience.
Yeah, Sean Payton is and Russell Wilson is unwatchable.
Have you seen the Jets? And the Raiders?
The Jets have a defense that's good.
Yeah, but at least you'll have a competitive, you'll have touchdowns.
Will you?
Yeah, and the Vikings Broncos, yeah, you will. Yeah.
Both defenses suck.
Yeah, they're both defenses do suck.
Yeah, I guess you're right in that vein. The defenses suck.
It's just gonna be like watching paint dry on Sunday night. Jets Raiders.
I mean, I'll crack a cold one and watch some paint dry.
I don't think you're gonna be in any frame of mind to crack a cold one.
I mean, I might need a little hair of the dog.
I think what you're gonna end up doing is you're gonna end up saying, "I'm not drinking ever again."
This is strong.
When you wake up
possibility
on
of that.
Sunday, that's gonna be the words out of your mouth because you're going on the booze cruise tomorrow.
Never again.
You got to go hair of the dog.
I'm actually not a hair of the dog guy.
Hair of the dog works so well.
It's never been my thing. I've tried it a couple times and I hated every bit of it.
Got to get different dog hair then.
I know, right? So there you go. That's all. For Friday. Look at Will Ordner, ladies and gentlemen. Fill it in for Jeff Rust. Threw together an oar just for us. We love it.
Way to go.
It's a hearty applause.
Yeah, you really pumped up the volume on that applause. I see what you're doing.
That
here.
was from the in-studio audience. That was not from me.
We need to have more shows with the in-studio audience.
It is fun. We do have the casting couches.
Boy, we need not refer to them when we're saying it as casting couches when we're saying we need an in-studio audience.
Have slept there. Multiple times, actually, now.
All right, coming up next, we'll put a bow on Football Friday as we get you ready for college football. Danny Dusty, Danny the Fan.
Never bring a black light.
It's The Fan on demand.
game starts, Ortner? Is that right?
The roundtable encore starts at 1.
The encore
like I say,
starts
it's it.
at 1, and it leads up. We've got our pregame with Dirt, Anthony Newman, and myself in front of the Mashofsky Center.
And then you'll be down there on the
I'll
field.
be on the field, and you'll be down
I'll
there
be down
doing
there.
something.
Yeah.
You'll be around.
I'll be working.
Yeah,
working
on sobering up.
On the field? Nah. It's a 3-hour ride home.
But it's going to be, that game is going to be a lot of fun. And look, if you are Oregon and you don't want to get into that track meet, this is the weirdest thing to say, but it's almost like when you play Caleb Williams, you have to keep one of the best passers in the game in the pocket, right? Like you got to build that fort and be disruptive up the middle. And that is easier said than done. A lot of teams try to do it. And that's going to be the fun part for me when I'm watching this game, is seeing, there's a lot of youngsters on the edges for Oregon. You
have to be disciplined. And if you get a hand on him, this is the craziest thing. And I will not say this about any other player in football. Arm tackle him. And by arm tackle him, I mean grab as much jersey as you can, because if you try to just get low and wrap him up and commit, he spins out.
Yeah.
When you see him brought down, it's when guys grab as much jersey as they can, and as he tries to spin out, he can't.
Yeah.
You got to have strong hands to bring him down.
Pressure's got to be relentless.
Yeah.
And it's got to be effective, because on the outside, they've got athlete for athlete. They are so good everywhere. And that's the thing, that if you just expect a blowout, don't, because they're so good athletically. But it's going to be one of those, create that corral and pinch him down.
Make him step up.
And that is going to be, because Oregon is more disruptive when you have got, it's going to be, a lot of it's going to be on those youngsters that we've seen so much growth of, Blake Purchase and Mateo Uyunglele, and you've got Tuioti. Those guys are going to have to be disciplined and disruptive on the outside, pinch things inside. And then it comes down to Brandon Dorless, Jordan Birch, Casey Rogers, Taki Taimani. Those guys are going to be the ones that are going to be the disruptors in the middle that got to finish the job. But this is going to be a fun game. And what Dan Lanning is kind of riding, he's riding a little bit of a high, and he said it all week long. He's not hiding from it. This is a big recruiting game for them. And this is going to be fast. Oregon's offense should eat. No ands, ifs, or buts about it.
Everybody has eaten against USC.
Yeah.
Nobody hasn't.
It is. USC plays close games, though. They don't get blown out, except for by Notre Dame, where that was a lot of turnover luck, too.
Yeah, the ball, Caleb Williams having the worst game of his life.
Yeah. And then
letting that ball squeak all over the place. But again, that was because Notre Dame was so disruptive.
But I'll be interested to see how USC rebounds, because there's a lot that has gone on, and not just the Alex Grinch firing, but
the speculation about Lincoln leaving for the NFL.
Well, in the emotions that Caleb Williams showed at the end of the game, he's not. Neither has Lincoln Riley have faced this kind of adversity ever.
Lincoln Riley's never lost more than 3 games
ever.
This is
it.
They lose tomorrow. It's the first time they've ever lost more than 3.
And so it's going to be a put them on them early. For Oregon State, man, you take care of this game. Honestly, you take care of Stanford the way that you should.
You set up the rest of the season for you in a manner that you can be wildly disruptive.
Well, if you win this game, Washington beats Utah the way that they should. Next week, College Game Day could be in Corvallis.
Yeah.
Because that game is a primetime ABC game.
It'll probably be a top 10 matchup.
It's a 4:30 game, ABC, Washington and Oregon State. And the other games next week are Georgia at Tennessee, which would be, 2 versus 13. You've got the Battle of the Sunflower State, Kansas State, number 25 goes to number 16, Kansas. And then you have Utah, Arizona as ranked matchups. The sexiest game on the slate, in a game that, if ESPN's pumping up the college football playoff and they're pumping up their network, for Oregon State, there's a lot on the line, and that'd be badass.
Look, if things go chalky, Washington wins, Georgia wins, Michigan wins. Ole Miss is 9, Penn State is 10, Oregon State is 12. Yep. That's 2 teams in front of them both picking up a loss.
Mhm.
Oregon State goes in and handles business. There's a very good chance that you're looking at number 5 Washington versus number 10 Oregon State next week.
Yep.
That's pretty spicy.
That's awesome. Like that's really cool. And I think that that those are things that are on the line for the Beavs and the Ducks this weekend. You can't ask for much more. Because the Pac-12 going out this way, and if you were to have like one of the Pac-2 schools hosting College Game Day after getting left behind, that's a great way to stick your middle finger up to everybody else.
Love to see
we're
it.
still relevant.
Yeah.
We can do it, and we don't have to do it in a game where, Oregon's birth to the national championship is on the line, which has been one time then College Game Day was there. Like, no, this is on their own merit, and this is on, playing really damn good football right now and being potential disruptors to the college football playoff. Like, take care of that business.
Oregon State won the next 3 weeks. Just completely derailed everything and just gave the double barrel to everyone.
Yeah.
It would be
what they want.
It would be funny. I'm not gonna lie.
It's exactly what they want, man. So let's go. I'm in for it.
Yeah, be fun.
I'm stoked to see kind of what happens over this week, and I'm cautious about what that over under line. I see in the YouTube comments, people are saying, "What's the over under for Oregon SC?"